Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're embarking on an incredible in-depth journey through the life of one of history's most fascinating and influential figures, Winston Churchill. Imagine a man whose words could rally a nation, whose vision helped defeat tyranny, and whose life story reads like an epic novel. That's Winston Churchill. He wasn't just a politician, he was a soldier, a journalist, a historian, and a painter. More than anything, he was a leader who shaped the 20th century. We're going to explore his entire remarkable journey. From his privileged but sometimes lonely childhood, through his adventurous military days, his often turbulent political career, and, of course, his defining role in leading Britain through the Second World War. We'll also look at his struggles, his triumphs, and the lasting impact he left on the world. So, get ready to settle in. This is the complete story of Winston Churchill, told in an easy-to-understand way, perfect for listening. Let's begin this amazing expedition. Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill entered the world on November 30th, 1874. His birthplace was the Grand Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire, one of England's largest stately homes. His family was incredibly famous and powerful. His father was Lord Randolph Churchill, a brilliant but troubled politician. He was the third son of the 7th Duke of Marlborough. His mother was Jenny Jerome, a stunning American socialite known for her beauty and charm. Despite growing up in such an important family, Winston's early childhood was often quite lonely. His parents were very busy with their social and political lives. They spent little time with him. Instead, he was mostly looked after by his beloved nanny, Elizabeth Everest, whom he affectionately called Woomany. She provided the warmth and affection he often missed from his parents. Education was a mixed bag for young Winston. He attended Harrow School, a prestigious boarding school. But he wasn't exactly a star student. He often struggled with subjects he found boring, like mathematics and Latin. However, he absolutely loved the English language and history. He excelled at these, showing early signs of his incredible way with words. It was during his time at Harrow that he began to develop his formidable memory and his talent for public speaking. These skills would later become his most powerful tools. His father, Lord Randolph, wanted Winston to pursue a military career. This was mainly because he didn't seem to be doing well enough academically for university. After a couple of tries, Winston finally gained entry into the Royal Military College, Sandhurst, in 1893. This was Britain's leading military academy for training cavalry officers. He embraced the discipline and excitement of military life. He graduated in 1894, near the top of his class. After Sandhurst, he joined the 4th Queen's Own Hussars, a cavalry regiment. But Winston was never one to sit still. He thirsted for adventure and sought out action. His military career was unconventional. It was often combined with his work as a war correspondent. He wanted to make a name for himself, not just for his family, but for his own accomplishments. His adventures took him across the globe. In 1895, he went to Cuba as a military observer for the Spanish Army. He also reported for the Daily Graphic newspaper. He saw his first real combat there. Next, he served in British India, participating in the Malakand Field Force campaign on the northwest frontier in 1897. He wrote his first book, The Story of the Malacan Field Force, based on these experiences. In 1898, he joined the forces sent to Sudan to put down an uprising. He took part in the Battle of Omdurman, one of the last great cavalry charges in British history. His book, The River War, chronicled this campaign. His experiences in these conflicts gave him a first-hand understanding of warfare. This knowledge would prove invaluable in his later political career. Then came the Second Boer War in South Africa, 1899 to 1902. Churchill went there as a war correspondent for the Morning Post. While traveling with a British armed train, it was ambushed by Boer commandos. He played a brave role in organizing the defense and saving some of the wounded. However, he was captured. He was taken as a prisoner of war in Pretoria. But being a prisoner wasn't for Winston Churchill. He famously escaped from the camp. He made a daring journey of nearly 300 miles across enemy territory. He traveled by train, then on foot, hiding in coal mines, and finally made it to Portuguese East Africa. This is modern-day Mozambique. His dramatic escape made him a national hero overnight in Britain. This newfound fame became his launchpad for a political career. It provided him with a platform that most new politicians could only dream of. With his heroic escape from the Boer War, Churchill returned to Britain a celebrated figure. This made his entry into politics much smoother. In 1900, he was elected as a Conservative Member of Parliament for Oldham. He quickly became known in Parliament for his powerful speeches and independent spirit. However, Churchill was never one to stay strictly within party lines if he disagreed with something. He soon clashed with the Conservative Party over their stance on free trade. Churchill strongly believed in free trade. He argued that it would benefit the working class by making goods cheaper. This disagreement led to a major decision in his life. In 1904, he famously crossed the floor of the House of Commons. He joined the Liberal Party. This was a bold move that shocked many. As a Liberal, Churchill's career took off. He quickly climbed the political ladder. He held important positions such as President of the Board of Trade, 1908 to 1910, and Home Secretary, 1910 to 1911. In these roles, he was involved in many social reforms. These included setting up labor exchanges to help people find jobs. He established minimum wages for some industries and introduced unemployment insurance. These reforms showed his commitment to improving the lives of ordinary people. He often challenged traditional liberal views. In 1911, he was appointed First Lord of the Admiralty, a crucial role in charge of the Royal Navy. He foresaw the coming conflict with Germany and vigorously prepared the Navy for war. He pushed for modernization, the development of naval aviation, and the conversion of ships from coal to oil fuel. When World War I broke out in August 1914, the British Navy was largely ready, thanks in part to his foresight. However, his time at the Admiralty also brought controversy. He was a strong advocate for daring naval actions. He supported the ill-fated Gallipoli campaign in 1915. This was an attempt to knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war by seizing control of the Dardanelles Straits. The campaign ended in a costly defeat, with heavy Allied casualties. While he wasn't solely responsible, he took much of the blame. This public backlash led to his removal from the Admiralty. It was a devastating blow to Churchill. He resigned from the government in November 1915. In an unusual move for a senior politician, he then chose to serve on the Western Front as a battalion commander. He spent several months in the trenches, experiencing firsthand the brutal realities of trench warfare. This personal experience of combat, after previously holding such a high-ranking naval position, was unique and deeply affected him. He later returned to government in lesser roles, serving under Prime Minister David Lloyd George. The years between World War I and World War II, roughly from 1919 to 1939, are often called Churchill's wilderness years. He returned to the Conservative Party in 1924 and served as Chancellor of the Exchequer from 1924 to 1929. In this role, he made the controversial decision to return Britain to the gold standard. Many economists believe this contributed to economic difficulties and unemployment. After 1929, he found himself increasingly isolated from the mainstream of British politics. He held no ministerial office for a decade. During this time, he became a lonely but persistent voice. He constantly warned Britain about the growing threat of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. While many politicians hoped to avoid another war through appeasement, Churchill saw the danger clearly. He urged the government to rearm and prepare for conflict. He called for a stronger Royal Air Force and criticized the government's policy of trying to satisfy Hitler's demands. His warnings were largely ignored, and he was often seen as an old-fashioned alarmist. He was out of favor with the Conservative Party leadership. However, this period also allowed him to pursue his other passions. He devoted much time to writing, producing major historical works like Marlborough, His Life and Times. This was a biography of his ancestor. He also indulged in his love for painting, finding solace and creative expression in art. He even took up bricklaying as a hobby at his home, Chartwell. Despite his political isolation, he remained sharp and busy. He was preparing for the day he knew would come. That day arrived with the outbreak of World War II. When World War II officially began in September 1939, with Germany's invasion of Poland, Winston Churchill was immediately called back into government. He was reappointed First Lord of the Admiralty, the same position he held at the start of World War I. His famous signal to the fleet was simply, "Winston is back." His energy, experience, and clear vision for facing the Nazi threat were instantly evident. The situation in Europe quickly worsened. In April 1940, Germany invaded Norway. The British military efforts there proved largely unsuccessful. This failure led to a crisis of confidence in Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain's leadership. On May 10, 1940, a pivotal day in British history, Chamberlain resigned. Despite some opposition, Winston Churchill was appointed Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He took office at Britain's darkest hour. France was rapidly collapsing under the German invasion. The British Expeditionary Force was trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk. Britain stood almost completely alone against a seemingly unstoppable Nazi Germany. Many in Britain, and even some in his own government, considered making peace with Hitler. But Churchill would not consider surrender. In his first speech to the House of Commons as Prime Minister, he famously declared, he had nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. With these powerful words, he rallied the British people. He inspired them with his unwavering resolve to fight on, no matter the cost, to defend their island, and to resist tyranny. His speeches were not just words. They were a lifeline of hope and determination. He delivered them with a unique rhythm and power that moved millions. One of his first great challenges was the evacuation of British and French troops from Dunkirk. Against all odds, over 338,000 Allied soldiers were rescued from the beaches. It was a miracle that, while a military retreat, became a symbol of British resilience. Churchill immediately followed this with his iconic "We shall fight on the beaches" speech. He was preparing the nation for an expected German invasion. The Battle of Britain, fought in the skies over England in the summer and autumn of 1940, was another critical moment. The Royal Air Force, despite being heavily outnumbered, managed to defeat the German Luftwaffe. Churchill famously paid tribute to the fighter pilots, saying, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." As the aerial battle continued, Germany began the Blitz. This was a prolonged bombing campaign against British cities. London and other industrial centres were heavily bombed. This caused immense destruction and loss of life. Churchill often toured the bombed areas, showing solidarity with the public, offering comfort and boosting morale. Churchill understood the vital importance of the United States. He quickly forged a strong and personal bond with U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Their secret correspondence and frequent meetings laid the groundwork for a crucial alliance. This friendship led to the Lend-Lease Act in 1941. This allowed the USA to supply Britain with vital war materials even before America officially entered the war. This was a lifeline for Britain, providing essential aid when its financial resources were depleted. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941, Churchill, despite his lifelong anti-communist views, immediately offered support to Stalin. He famously stated, "If Hitler invaded hell, I would make at least a favorable reference to the devil in the House of Commons." He formed the Big Three alliance with Roosevelt and Stalin, leading the Allied war effort. These three leaders held crucial conferences at Tehran, 1943, Yalta, 1945, and Potsdam, 1945. They made major decisions about the war's strategy and the post-war world. Churchill traveled extensively during the war, often putting himself in danger. He met with Allied leaders, inspected troops, and visited bombed cities. His presence was always a morale booster. He oversaw the planning of major invasions, including the North Africa campaign. Also, the invasion of Italy, and most famously, the D-Day landings in Normandy in June 1944. His leadership during the war was tireless. He worked incredibly long hours, often starting his day in bed. He would dictate to secretaries and constantly engage in discussions. He was known for his love of cigars, brandy, and taking afternoon naps. He called these "rendezvous with my pillow," essential for maintaining his energy. He often spoke of the black dog of depression that sometimes haunted him. But during the war, his immense sense of purpose kept it at bay. Ultimately, Churchill's unwavering determination, his powerful oratory, and his strategic vision were key factors. They led Britain and the Allies to victory over Nazi Germany and the Axis powers in 1945. Despite leading Britain to victory in World War II, a surprising event happened in July 1945. Just weeks after Germany surrendered, Churchill's Conservative Party suffered a crushing defeat in the general election. Clement Attlee's Labour Party won by a landslide. This was a shock to many, as Churchill was a celebrated war hero. However, the public wanted a new vision for Britain after the war. They focused on social welfare, jobs, and a better future, which Labour promised. Churchill gracefully accepted the defeat and became the leader of the opposition. Even out of power, he continued to be a significant voice on the world stage. He was deeply concerned about the growing divide between the Soviet Union and the Western democracies. In March 1946, he delivered one of his most famous speeches at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri, USA. In this speech, he used the phrase "Iron Curtain" to describe the division of Europe into communist and non-communist blocs. This speech is often seen by historians as a symbolic moment, marking the beginning of the Cold War. He warned the world about Soviet expansionism and urged Western nations to unite against it. He also became a strong advocate for European unity. He believed that closer cooperation among European nations was essential to prevent future wars and ensure peace. He played a key role in promoting the idea of a United States of Europe. In October 1951, at the remarkable age of 77, Winston Churchill made a political comeback. He returned as Prime Minister for a second term. His second premiership was very different from his first. It was focused on Cold War diplomacy and managing the complex relationship with the United States. He also continued the post-war reconstruction of Britain. He dealt with issues like the Korean War and the early stages of decolonization. This was the process of British colonies gaining independence. However, his health was declining during this period. He suffered several strokes, which were often kept secret from the public. Despite his famous resilience, the strains of leadership at his age were immense. He finally resigned as Prime Minister in April 1955, at the age of 80. He remained a Member of Parliament until 1964, retiring from politics at 89. Even in old age, he commanded immense respect and continued to be a symbol of British strength. Winston Churchill was also a prolific writer and historian. He authored numerous books throughout his life. His most famous literary works include his 6-volume history of World War II, the Second World War, and his 4-volume history of the English-speaking peoples, a history of the English-speaking peoples. For his outstanding literary achievements, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953. This recognized his mastery of historical and biographical description, as well as his brilliant oratory. He received many other honors in his later years. He was made a Knight of the Garter by Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, the highest order of chivalry in Britain. In 1963, he became the first person to be granted honorary U.S. citizenship by an act of Congress. Sir Winston Churchill died on January 24, 1965, at the age of 90. His state funeral was a massive event, one of the largest in history. Leaders from over 100 countries attended, and millions watched on television. It was a testament to his global impact and the widespread respect he commanded. Churchill's personal life, habits, and character. Beyond his public roles, Churchill was a complex and fascinating individual. He was famously married to Clementine Hozier for 57 years, from 1908 until his death. Their marriage was a strong partnership, though not without its challenges. Clementine was his constant supporter, critic, and confidant, playing a crucial role in his life. They had 5 children together, though their relationships with their children were sometimes complicated. This was due to Churchill's demanding career and personality. He was known for his eccentric habits and lifestyle. He had a great love for Cuban cigars. He often smoked many a day. He also enjoyed brandy, champagne, and sometimes even whiskey, though accounts vary on the extent of his daily consumption. He was a creature of habit, often dictating letters and papers from his bed in the mornings, sometimes working well into the night. His afternoon naps were legendary. He called these rendezvous with my pillow, essential for maintaining his energy. Churchill possessed a sharp wit and a brilliant sense of humor. His quotes and comebacks are famous even today. He could be charming, inspiring, and deeply empathetic. However, he also had a demanding personality. He could be difficult to work with and was prone to fits of temper. He had a formidable temper, but also a deep capacity for kindness and loyalty. He was also a man who grappled with depression throughout his life. He famously referred to it as his black dog. This wasn't a constant presence, but it was something he managed. Often through his relentless work, his passion for writing, and his hobbies like painting. Painting became a true solace for him, a way to escape the pressures of politics and find peace. Winston Churchill's legacy is immense but also complex and a subject of ongoing debate. He is undeniably remembered as the wartime leader who saved Britain. He inspired the free world during its darkest hour. His powerful speeches, delivered with unmatched eloquence, remain iconic symbols of defiance and courage. He is seen as a champion of democracy and freedom against totalitarianism. However, he also faced criticisms throughout his career and even after his death. Some criticize his views on the British Empire, arguing they were outdated and sometimes insensitive to colonial peoples. His actions during the 1915 Gallipoli campaign are still debated. His social views sometimes seemed less progressive than those of his liberal peers, despite his early reforms. Some also point to his sometimes abrasive personality and his strong anti-socialist views. Despite these criticisms, his historical significance cannot be overstated. He was a master of the English language, a brilliant strategist, and a leader who genuinely believed in the strength of the British people. His life was a testament to perseverance, reinvention, and the power of conviction. Winston Churchill remains one of the most influential figures of the 20th century. His story continues to inspire and fascinate. He embodies the idea that one person, with enough courage and conviction, can indeed change the course of history. Thank you so much for watching this deep look into Winston Churchill's amazing life. His story truly shows us that bravery, powerful words, and never giving up can change history, even during the darkest times. If you found this video inspiring, please hit that thumbs up button and share it with friends who love history, great leaders, and stories of overcoming huge challenges. For more detailed biographies and fascinating trips through history that help you keep learning, make sure to subscribe to our channel. What was your favorite moment of Churchill's leadership? Or what surprised you most about his story? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep looking back to learn forward.